Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:06 on the Monday morning you've been waiting for. It's Total Eclipse Day. Good morning. Larry O'Connor here. And Julie Gunlock, I see you. You don't have to wear those special solar eclipse sunglasses in the studio. You're so cool.
I drove here with them on.
Oh, that explains what happened. Were you on I-95 by any chance?
That was not me.
Yeah, we are feeling your pain out there if you're starting to get ready and you just found out 95 is closed. But stick with us. Jamie Whitten's going to hold your hand throughout that commute if you're coming up on I-95 in Northern Virginia. In the meantime, the rest of y'all, you're going to have problems too, I promise, because everyone's looking up at the sun. Coming up at 7:05, Joe DeGenevo will be here. At 7:35, Dr. Mark Siegel. You know, we got an outbreak of measles, tuberculosis, many of them coming from the migrant shelters. We'll find out what that's all about. And then at 8:35, we got an astronaut, an actual, right stuff kind of guy, Dr. Tom Jones. It's not unusual to talk to Tom Jones on a day like this.
Exciting.
NASA astronaut will talk to us about the solar eclipse. I can't believe you just no comment on that. It's not unusual to talk to Tom Jones.
I'm sorry.
We'll ask him what's new, pussycat. And he'll say, oh, my wife Delilah is fine. Those are the 3 Tom Jones songs I know. I got nothing else. We're done. Thanks for tuning in here, and happy April 8th to you. This is my father's birthday.
Oh.
Yeah, Daddy-O is today's his birthday.
Oh.
Yeah. He's asleep.
Every...
He's on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so I mentioned the solar eclipse. So where we are, good news is we're going to have pretty clear skies when the solar eclipse is at its peak. Right. That's going to be around 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon. Bad news is where we are geographically, I think we're supposed to see like 80% or 85% of the coverage, which is not bad, compared to, but you've seen it for the last week, this band across the country, starting kind of in the Gulf Coast of Texas,
right,
and then sweeping up to Maine and Newfoundland, Canada, is that on this little arc, that's the best place to see the solar eclipse, where you'll see 100%. It's the moon passing perfectly in front of the sun, corona effect, end of the world as we know it. The gods are angry. Zeus is sending lightning down. That's going to be the place. So everybody, got their hotel rooms, got their Airbnbs, spent, tons of money. They forgot one element here. So
it's always a risk. They probably didn't forget.
I suppose.
It's always a risk.
Solar eclipse is when the moon passes between the Earth and the sun, right? People forget that between the Earth and the moon is our atmosphere. And our atmosphere also passes between us on the Earth and the moon.
Yeah.
And it turns out the atmosphere on most of that stretch, not at all. Most of that stretch, if you look at an overlay of cloud cover, I feel terrible.
I know.
There are
You're
people,
enjoying this way
people
too
have
much.
spent so much money and so much energy.
Now, I did this exact thing in 2017. I looked it up. 2017.
It was 17.
With the last
so 7 years ago. So your kids were still relatively young.
They were
like
very young.
7.
Yeah.
Six,
one was
7,
5.
8,
one was 4. Yeah. Anyway, so we did the whole thing. We take a summer vacation up in Maine every year. And then I drove from Maine to Tennessee.
Oh, man.
And my husband couldn't join us up in Maine. So he met us halfway to Tennessee. And then we ended up in one of those cabins. We stayed near Dollywood. But we spent a lot of money on both gas.
Because you were right in the stretch where the eclipse
we mapped it. We knew exactly where we needed to go. And of course, 8 months earlier, I'd reserved a cabin in Tennessee because we really wanted to see this.
Did you check the weather forecast 8 months out?
You can't. No.
No, see, you can't.
It's
you can't
just a
predict
risk.
that.
And let me tell you, I was sweating it because we had spent a lot of money to do this. So I feel very bad for those people. Because the other thing is, Larry, it is weird if you're in the dead zone, if
right,
you're in the
where it literally gets dark. It's like
there's
nighttime.
a word for it.
It's not full nighttime darkness.
No,
but
it's like twilight.
Yeah.
And but the things that happen at night happen in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
You start hearing all the sounds, frogs and crickets. And
yes.
It's very odd. I know.
It is very odd. So I do feel bad for people. I know you're enjoying this, Larry.
Oh, no. Only because.
A little.
I don't know why. The 115-mile wide strip covering parts of 15 states from Texas to northern Maine, called the Path of Totality.
That's
Where
it.
do they come
Path
up
of
with
Totality. I know.
Path of
I know.
Meet me in the Path of
Totality.
Totality. I think that was a gay bar in West Hollywood back in the 90s. Is where you can see the total eclipse. The moon will completely cover it. Right, we know this. All right, so from weather.com.
Right, we know this.
Weather.com tells us that the cloud front, parts of the eastern seaboard from Maine to the Carolinas may have less cloud cover Monday. The portion of the path of, but of course it's not hitting the coast. You have to go inland unless you, like I said, you're on Maine. But from Maine, you have to draw the diagonal, like down through upstate New York and straight through Ohio and Indiana. Maine is looking good. If you're in Maine right now or in Newfoundland and you're in the path of totality, you're going to be fine.
Yep.
You're going to see a beautiful eclipse. Anywhere else in the country, you're going to be looking at clouds and rain, it looks like.
Do you know anyone who made... My sister is currently in Southern Illinois.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who's made this trek.
And she got a cabin. She's staying with some friends.
Texas, Arkansas is looking like clouds and rain. You're going to be out in the rain the whole time.
Like this one, don't you?
There is one bit of Southern Illinois that looks clear right now.
Oh, good. That's where
is
my
that close?
sister
I guess it is close to where
my sister is. Yeah.
All right, Indiana, Ohio is totally covered in clouds based on this forecast.
That stinks.
I'm sorry.
Do you feel like this one isn't getting as much news coverage as the 2000s? I feel like in 2017 it was such a big deal.
I feel like this has gotten quite a bit too. You're right. 2017 seemed a little bigger. I remember seeing more news things about that. There may be parts of the Midwest and Central Plains that could have a decent chance of viewing the eclipse, though exactly where remains a bit uncertain. Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. This is the forecast right now. But as I'm looking at it, it looks like Southern Illinois and a bit of a stretch in Indiana is going to be relatively clear. Everywhere else is just getting cloud cover and rain everywhere. Yeah, Niagara.
At where my cousin lives, he invited us up there. We couldn't make it, but they're supposed to have considerable cloudiness.
Yes. I'm looking, almost the entire state of New York is just completely covered, as is Vermont and New Hampshire. Again, once you hit Maine, it looks clear, or the Newfies are going to have a great time. We love our Newfies ever since 9/11. Did you ever see Come From Away, the musical about
I didn't.
Where all the planes end up on this one little island for a week because all the flights get grounded?
I heard about it.
Wonderful.
Was that Newfoundland? I'd forgotten.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that was Newfoundland.
Okay.
Great. Anyway, back to this map. Back in me giggling at people who just spent upwards to $5,000 to be in this path. Well, you can't. This is a good reminder that, we think we've harnessed science. We think that we've harnessed the stars but clouds.
Clouds happen.
Just clouds, exactly. And if they weren't feeding the clouds all the time with chemtrails from the jets that fly in the atmosphere.
Stop.
You know that's what happened here.
Sure.
That's
how clouds happen, right?
Much of I love that they say, well, California is looking good. California is going to see, where are they on the, California is at 30% of the eclipse. It's like, okay, California won't have clouds, but they'll also see, it's going to look like a little, like the Cookie Monster took one bite out of the cookie. That's it.
Well, I hope people, figure out, you could maybe drink a lot. You could, that's another
You'll have your own blackout,
eclipse.
A little personal blackout. Exactly. Just keep drinking. All right. Well, listen, if you, throughout the morning, I don't know if anybody's up and listening and they're actually in the path of totality, we'd love to know what your plans are for the day. You can drop us a line. Just come on home. Just come on home. Yeah. 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Much of California and the Great Basin expected to be relatively cloud-free. The rest of the country may have to contend with at least some cloud cover Monday afternoon, including where the path of totality will begin in Texas. Good news is, after today, the next solar eclipse that can be seen in the lower 48 states will be August 23rd. 2044. August 23rd will be your next chance 20 years from now. It's fine. By that time, that's right around the time President Barron Trump will be getting sworn in. Is that a presidential election? I'm not sure. All right, let's get to the nightmare that is I-95 this morning. It's 5:15. WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the fives, Jamie Whitten is not in the path of totality.
WMAL, making sense of world events, because those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
I mean, it's going to be 20 years until we can talk about a solar eclipse again, so we might as well just bleed this stone dry if we can. And I just want to be clear, because I realize I might be coming off sort of stupid and cold and callous.
Not nice.
I don't know. You know how when something is
I love how
inappropriate.
you're like, there's something between Earth and the moon that everybody appears to have forgotten about.
Our atmosphere. Jerk. You know how I know that people who are dealing with this, right? Because there are people who are waking up and realizing that after all this effort and all this cost and all the hype, that they're not going to see a thing.
And you can't stop laughing.
And I can't. It's one of those things where every time I think about it, it makes me laugh. Because you know what they're going to do is they're going to, yes, they're going to drink, but they're also going to do exactly what we're going to do, which is we're going to watch it on television. Where they're going to find a website that has a perfect shot of it, and they're going and it's like, we could have just done this.
You know, the thing is, the reason I'm not being mean is because I did this in 2017. Yeah. I rented this beautiful cabin in Tennessee, right? Because that was the path of totality. That was closest to us,
right? And
I hyped the kids up. And, packed the car up and the whole thing.
And you must have been sweating it, knowing that,
Yeah, I was a little nervous. I remember thinking like, this could really stink. Right. And, I mean, it was a big deal. Like, you had to drive to this area and park. And, I mean, there was thousands of cars and thousands of people.
Why did you have to go to a certain area? Because the sun is everywhere.
No, it's very precise. Like, the region. I couldn't just go from the porch of the cabin. We can just watch from there. If you want totality, shut up, Larry. I'm a bit of a I'm a bit of a space nerd.
You do good.
So,
you're excited. I know Tom Jones is coming soon, later this morning to talk about this. I get it, and I am sympathetic to that, and I'm sorry for laughing. I am, but to me, this is the kind of thing that is perfect to watch in air conditioning. Yes. On television, where other people are going through the process.
That way with fireworks.
We're going to see it. Okay, I get that.
I get it.
I will tell you this, though, and this is something that's weird to me, because I understand, I jokingly say, Armageddon, end of the world, Zeus is angry, because this is what, back in the day, this is what the pagans really did think. I mean, when you're standing there and suddenly the sun turns out in the middle of the day, it's like that's terrifying.
Yeah.
But I love lunar eclipses. I think lunar eclipses are actually more fascinating to me, and I think they're so romantic and they're so cool to watch, and they don't hurt your eyes, and they happen more frequently.
Okay.
Don't you think lunar eclipses are cool?
Yeah, I guess, but I'm telling you, I have it. The eclipse in 2017.
Yeah,
it was creepy. It was genuinely creepy, and
okay.
I what?
Well, I mean, I don't know why that's like a. So you're going out of your way and spending all this money to have a creepy experience.
No, but it was so weird.
You know what? Paul in Alexandria wants to chime in on this and set me straight on this. So, Paul, thank you for. Are you? So you are not in the path of totality. You're in Alexandria, although that's a different kind of path of totality over there. What's going to happen today, Paul?
Well, Larry, have you ever been in the path of totality?
I cannot say that I have. No, I haven't.
Okay, well,
I dated a girl once that made me feel like I was on the path of totality, but that's a very different story, Paul.
We're moving toward the path of totalitarianism.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
But one should not watch this on television in a cloudy area. Just be thankful you didn't waste money on the glasses. Go outside and experience the dusk. And if there are birds in the neighborhood, they'll fly into the trees.
Yeah.
And if there are cows, they'll head to the barn.
Yep.
I did this in 1969, or whenever that was, 69 or 70, and there was a totality in North Carolina. So we drove down from here, and curiously, the town that we stopped at, because it was totality was being reached, was in a town called Sunbury, North Carolina.
They must have had fun with that.
That's perfect.
That's great. All right. So you set me straight,
Dallas-
Paul. And actually, that does make sense. I mean, in fact, even if there's cloud cover, I mean, if it's rainy, that's going to be miserable. But even if there's cloud cover, you're going to get a very cool effect through the clouds
You
as
will
it.
get- I mean, it'll darken.
It'll be
The
like
earth-
dusk,
Yeah,
yeah.
it'll feel like dusk. And again,
It'll
he's
feel like a
right-
storm is coming.
He's right about the birds.
Yeah.
Suddenly, things just change. And I remember
When he
seeing
says fly into
crickets.
trees, he means like they go home to roost. They don't like whack into the
No,
side of
they
a
go
tree,
home
which
to
would be
get it.
very cool
They
too.
go-
I don't like birds. That'd be fantastic to see. But all right, Paul, well, I'm excited then. So maybe we will. You know what? I might drop everything after the show today and just go into the middle of Ohio so I can experience.
No.
Well, compare our experiences on June 2nd when I see you.
Oh, come into the Free Speech Forum.
Yay.
Excellent, Paul. Sold out, by the way. Somebody, thank you, Paul. We
Yes,
will
I
see you
know,
there.
right?
Yes, somebody at the there was a wedding this weekend of a dear friend of mine, and someone came up to me at the Free Speech Forum and said, "Can I still get tickets?" And I don't know. When I checked the website, sold out. Free Speech Forum sold out June
nice.
2nd at the Birchmere, 525 WMAL Trap Point. Am I plugging the thing now? It's sold out. That's going to frustrate people.
Now,
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:37, 7:05 Joe DeGeneva, 7:35 Dr. Mark Siegel, and at 8:35 Dr. Tom Jones, who I'm now reminded, of course, she's a lady. We can also add to the list of What's New Pussycat. It's not unusual.
Yeah.
And Delilah. And a big shout out to Mark in College Park, who called in to also remind us of a classic Tom Jones. Who can forget this one? You know, they say when you sing, you're supposed to sing the vowels.
Right.
And just like use the consonants to move from one vowel to the other. No, but he goes right into that N in Thunderball. Thunderball. I couldn't tell you the plot of that James Bond
No,
movie.
I couldn't either.
Except
They're all the same, though.
it's called Thunderball.
Yeah.
But yes, Tom Jones sang Thunderball as well. Maybe, so which song should we bring Tom Jones, the astronaut, in with?
I like that one.
If I were to name Tom Jones, Thunderball would be my personal theme
let's do
song.
that.
Yeah, especially on a solar eclipse day. So Dr. Tom Jones. So thank you, Mark, for reminding us of other Tom Jones
Yes.
classics like Thunderball. President Trump running for president this time around. It's pretty. Have you stopped to reflect on the fact that we've got two presidents running against each other for the presidency?
No.
That's huge. It's not
No, I know, but it's
not
it
since
was-
Millard Fillmore, I believe, have we
because
had
we all
such
knew.
a moment.
I think, yeah.
All right. Well, President Trump put out a statement yesterday on Truth Social where he says he's going to be announcing a statement on abortion today during the solar eclipse. And I just want to read what he's going to say. I'll be putting out my statement on abortion and abortion rights tomorrow morning. All right, so right there.
Right there. Ugh.
Abortion rights is a disconcerting statement there.
That's a bit triggering.
Yeah. And this also, by the way, does not sound like Trump. This sounds like
doesn't.
something that has been put through a couple of handlers' eyes and hands.
Consultants
Yeah.
will always ruin you.
We'll speculate on that in a minute. I'll be putting out my statement on abortion and abortion rights tomorrow morning. Republicans and all others must follow their hearts and minds. Okay.
That's another Oprah-ism.
But remember that, like Ronald Reagan before me, I and most other Republicans believe in exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. All right, so let's just pause there for a second. It is true historically that Ronald Reagan did go through his own journey on the abortion question. And when he was governor of California, he did sign a bill that legalized the procedure. We should also remember that there was still quite a bit when we were, first of all, coming from a place where Roe v. Wade was about to be tried in the Supreme Court, number one. And then he was governor post Roe v. Wade, if I remember right. He was governor from 68 to 76, wasn't he? I believe he was.
Yeah, I don't know.
But there was still this propaganda out there that it's just a clump of cells. Most people
Right.
believed that.
Right.
Most people, we didn't have the images of the embryo. We
Right.
didn't have, number one. Number two, when you're the governor of California and you are sort of shepherding from a Roe v. Wade era, it takes incrementalism is how the left wins things,
Yes.
right? And there was never going to be total ban coming right out of Roe v. Wade. So when he was running for president, first of all, he was the most pro-life candidate we have had post Roe v. Wade. All right. He was the first Republican to actually run on a pro-life stance in 1980. And yes, there were exceptions, and I think many people would have exceptions. But to say, I've got Ronald Reagan's position, I think is not exactly accurate.
Sure.
All right, because I think Ronald Reagan's position was very specific to being within 10 years of Roe v. Wade being passed, where even other than the Catholics, even you look at the Southern Baptists and the Presbyterians, and a lot of people who are now our brothers and sisters on the pro-life side, they were pro-choice then too, back in the 70s. All right, continuing with the statement. Great love and compassion must be shown when even thinking about the subject of life. Don't know what that means. But at the same time, we must use common sense in realizing that we have an obligation to the salvation of our nation, which is currently in serious decline, to win elections without which we will have nothing other than failure, death, and destruction. We will not let that happen. We will make America great again. So I'm reading between the lines here, especially since he capitalized to win elections. And I think he's going to come out with some sort of middle way on abortion here. That allows not just for the exceptions of rape, incest, and life of the mother, but maybe this is the 15-week national ban language that he's been floating out there.
Yeah, I don't understand to what end. I'm not sure I fully understand the strategy here.
I think the strategy is that the consultants are terrifying him that we talked about this 2 weeks ago or last week that Biden's people are saying Florida's in play now because of the 6-week ban that they put in place there.
Yeah.
And Republicans are not good at talking about this
funny,
issue.
Though, because nothing will satisfy, sort of people who vote on one issue on abortion. This sort of compromise, this middle of the road way will not satisfy them. And there's so much misinformation on abortion.
Yeah.
People do not know how radical the left is. Kathy Tran in Virginia getting up there and saying, up until, never.
During birth, during the labor and birth process.
During the labor process, if a woman decides to abort her child, that's fine.
Correct.
That's fine. Ralph Northam saying, well, we're gonna just make sure the baby's comfortable while it dies on a table. People don't understand how radical the left is. So
buried in the ABC News write-up of the anticipation of Trump's statement, it says, polling has consistently shown that most Americans believe abortion should be legal through the initial stages of pregnancies. About half of U.S. adults said abortion should be permitted in the 15-week mark, according to the Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs poll. The fact that that's buried in there suggests a lot of the polling supports that. And again, the question is, are you an abolitionist or are you an incrementalist? Mm-hmm. Do you think that we, at this point, need to completely 100% abolish all types of abortion no matter what and make that the law of the land? Or are you an incrementalist where you say, you know what, if we can get 15 weeks compared to where we've been, then that's a great first step and it will help us change the hearts and minds of the American people so that we don't even need a law because no one would even think of doing such a thing anyway. That's how you get to abolition. Listen, I think I respect all sides of that, but I don't want to equivocate what the scientific fact is, that even at the first moment of conception, that is a human life.
Right.
So the question is not whether it was like, oh, well, when do you think life begins? It's not a question of an opinion. We know when life begins.
Right,
life begins at conception. The question is, what value do you give that life? And are some lives dispensable? Are some lives allowed to be extinguished without any circumstances and without any penalty? And other lives are to be protected by law? That's really the question here. And we'll get a statement from President Trump later today.
Yeah.
It's 5:44. So the NCAA Women's Championship is over. The winner is the South Carolina Gamecocks over the Iowa Hawkeyes. Of course, the Iowa Hawkeyes features Caitlin Collins, the highest scoring college basketball player of all time, and has become sort of a cause celeb. The ratings for women's basketball in the Final Four have actually shot through the roof because of the focus on her in particular, and a lot of the extracurricular drama around her. She happens to be white, and so that has brought in a lot of racial criticisms of one stripe or the other. It seems like there's a lot of resentment about her because suddenly people are caring about women's basketball, and some of the veteran players are like, oh, now you care just because there's a white woman.
Well, the professional.
Yeah.
The WMAL.
Oh, no, some of the college players, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But lost in all of that stuff is actually probably the most controversial thing that happened this weekend. It's the head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks, who is now the champion. Dawn Staley, she was asked at a press conference after she won her Final Four game heading into the finals about whether men should be able to play in women's sports, transgender women, that is.
Dan Zakrzewski, Outkick coach, you just talked about, what a massive weekend this is, obviously, for women's basketball, women's sports in general. One of the major issues facing women's sports right now is the discussion topic about the inclusion of transgender athletes, biological males, in women's sports. I was wondering if you would tell me your position on that issue.
All right. Now, for the next 15 to 20 seconds, you're going to hear a lot of deep sighs, throat clearing, drinking out of a water bottle. And what many observers who know this person, including Sage Steele from ESPN and a couple of others, say that what they are seeing Dawn Staley go through right now is an internal monologue where she knows in her heart that men should not be allowed to play, but she also knows the politics involved in this answer.
Yeah.
And so listen to the tortured pause that she goes through before she says what she says.
Damn, you got deep on me, didn't you? I'm under the opinion of if you're a woman, you should play. If you consider yourself a woman and you want to play sports or vice versa, you should be able to play. That's my opinion. You want me to go deeper?
Do you think transgender women should be able to participate
that's your question
in
you
college
want
basketball?
me to ask. I mean, you want to ask, so I'll give you that. Yes.
Wow.
So now the barnstorm of people are going to flood my timeline and be a distraction to me on one of the biggest days of our game. And I'm okay with that. I really am.
Well, and to be fair, the distraction obviously didn't have much weight because she did win the championship, but she openly acknowledges that she's going to be criticized. The barnstorm's going to come in. She was going to get criticized either way. Mm-hmm. She chose this path. But that's also the path that many observers say will end up destroying women's basketball, obviously.
And I'm sorry, but she is an absolute coward. And Sage Steele, former ESPN commentator, she came out and said, I don't believe that she believes this. Mm-hmm. And that drinking from the water bottle, also the pause. And also, can we just also address the you went deep? No, he didn't.
It's not
that
very
is
deep.
The number one question in women's sports right now about male-bodied athletes competing against women. That is in the news almost every day, and he didn't go deep. He asked a very basic question. So it's just enormously disappointing for a women's coach to react this way. I think she was lying. I don't think. I mean, they shouldn't say lying. I think she felt pressured to answer in this way. And I hope she does get blowback. I really hope she does. I think it's an absolute coward's position.
Well, she did win the championship, so we'll see what kind of blowback she gets. But by the way, I saw Nancy Mace, Congresswoman from South Carolina, which is the state that, University of South Carolina. She said this is outrageous. She said that only women should be able to play women's sports, and she's going to do whatever she can to make sure that's the law in the state of South Carolina.
It just also the sport itself, basketball.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's have some 6'3", 7-foot players.
Basketball. If you care about women's basketball,
all sports.
Where only like one or two players can even dunk the ball. Where in high school, there's usually a player on the boys' high school team that can dunk the ball.
Like in 4 paces, they can cross the court. A male. Okay.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to LeBronda having a second wind in his in her career. Like all done with the NBA, but you know what? I'm feeling a little frisky. I might win some championships there with the WM. You go, LeBronda. It's 5:54.